Hello and welcome to Movie Reviews by South of Normal with your host, me, Michael Soren. And today we're going live to talk about Ted Lasso, both seasons 1, 2, and a little bit of season 3. Not going to limit ourselves for all things Ted Lasso here. I got guests I got to bring in. We are live, but first, got to tell you, click, comment, subscribe, get the notifications, do all that fun stuff in order to keep this content coming. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest. First guest, you've seen him with me on the Holdo Maneuver podcast. You've heard him on the Animation Fascination podcast. He might look familiar for other reasons. We got
podcast, baby. Let's go.
We got an impressionist here. The next two guests are from Coach Beard's Book Club podcast. We have Andrea or Andrea? Which one is it?
It's Andrea.
Andrea. And Marita.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Mark is the one who wanted to do this podcast, and I fully approve because I finally watched Ted Lasso. Last time I talked to couple of you, I hadn't watched a single episode, and now I've watched seasons 1 and 2 twice, and season 3 I'm starting for I'm current, and I'm going to be starting the episode 1 again after this. Probably I'm not going to sleep after this for a little bit. So
yeah, he's preparing for our secret project.
Our secret project Doomsday.
Yeah.
That sounds very Ted Lasso. Yeah. Absolutely.
Although he probably would say it would be the same as the Austin Powers joke. I'm not going to remember it. I'll think of it eventually.
Nothing to it, but do it.
No, Alan Parsons Project. That's what it is.
Oh yeah,
that's what I was thinking of. So anyway, Ted Lasso, everybody.
Yes, you did.
While we're here, we have Coach Beard's Book Club. Like I said, if both of you would like to just give a spiel about how your podcast came to be and what it's all about.
You want to take it, Marita? Go ahead. Yeah.
I'll let you guys fight over it.
Oh, yeah. We're fighting over who has to do it, I think. All right. So we are a podcast that covers sort of both the books and the films within Ted Lasso. And we see a lot of books in Ted Lasso, but there's also a lot of references to books and films.
Many.
And originally, our fearless leader in Scotland, who couldn't make it because it's, I think, 3 a.m. for her right now, was leading this conversation on Twitter and putting out YouTube videos about this. And at some point decided it would be more fun to have a group of us. So she recruited Andrea and I and Bex, who's also not here. And so we converted it over to a podcast format, and this is hard live without editing, isn't it, Dre?
Live TV.
We do about one podcast a month, so we do deep dives into the books and occasionally films.
Yeah,
nice.
And if you guys have not checked it out yet, they are fantastic. You need to do that. Say that right now.
And you guys have also done a pretty good job with like being slightly ahead of the game too. With I don't remember what the book was, but it was like an episode or two before we kind of. Right, so we're going to talk a tiny bit of season 3, but it was like an episode or two before
There's no rules here. Just go.
Looking at Colin's storyline in season 3.
Yeah,
so it was very well timed.
Yeah.
No, the timing came out really well, and I think it's, that was signposted just a little bit in the first couple of seasons. So I think Andrea and Michaela might have rioted if we didn't get the Colin storyline that we have. But we did get that one in just ahead of the buzzer. So that was good timing. Yeah, that was great.
And an excellent storyline it was.
Yeah, I like how they've handled it. I'm happy about that.
Mm.
If I could do one thing different, I'd remove Trent. I don't care for him. Sorry. Not my
Really?
He just seemed shoehorned in season 3. Like, I liked him in the role he was in, but now he's just like there too much, just like standing there. And it's like, I like you being that guy who's pushing Ted's buttons all the time and like asking him to, but
Yeah, like he's not asking him hard questions. He's just kind of observing. And
yeah.
I don't even think he's kind of observing. I think he's looking at Ted lovingly, but I'm kind of here for that. So
I'll allow it. That's for sure. Because their interactions were great in the first season, and he was like, because he was the first reporter, I think, to ask him a question if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then there's the joke where he says he's from the Daily Planet and all that fun stuff, which made me chuckle because Captain Planet, or no, wait, Daily Planet's not Captain Planet. Sorry. All over the place.
Superman. But yeah, so do you want to just go into like season 1?
Yeah, we're in season. I was just about to say we're going to recap season 1 here a little bit. The overview for those who have not watched Ted Lasso yet is that Ted is an American football coach who is hired by a divorced Rebecca Welton. I forget her. Is that her maiden name or married name?
It's her maiden name.
Yep.
Okay. She hired him to piss off her ex-husband, essentially. She wants his favorite football club, which she now owns, got him in the divorce to just look foolish, to make him mad. So she hires an American, Ted Lasso, to come over there and coach this team in hopes that it's just the laughingstock of the league. That's the basic overview, high level. One question I have, and maybe it's been answered, did they ever say why she picked Ted specifically? Or is it just he's the only one who said yes?
What I remember from the pilot was that Ted went viral for like bringing an underdog college USA like American football team to like the championship, and basically she did it kind of as because like how she was trying to sabotage AFC Richmond. She was doing it more or less because who would be more qualified to coach a European football team than an American football team coach?
Right.
So I think that was more or less the thing for it too, and then primarily again too, because they're the GIF or GIF, as Leslie Higgins would say it. I believe it's pronounced GIF.
Roy says GIF as well.
Yeah. Let's not get into that. That's a different thing. But
I believe Coach Beard would get into this. So
yeah, I think that is a fight. I think that's a hill he would die on. I do. I think he has a strong opinion one way or the other.
I would say GIF because it's got the hard G and it would be a graphic interface format. So, but anyways, I believe that was why too, and that was like Higgins shows her like the GIF that everybody like uses where he's like where Jason Sudeikis is doing the dance that he would do from the What's Up With That sketch on SNL, but in that. And also, if people hadn't ever noticed before in that GIF, Coach Beard is in that too. He's in the back, like freaking out with the team as well.
Yeah,
he's kind of like lost in the background there because everyone's focused on Ted dancing and that. But
that seems to be Beard's MO, just kind of stay in the background.
So. You can't look away from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I identify with Coach Beard in many ways.
So you're gonna hula hoop and
that's the only way.
Become a tea drinker.
I do not identify him with. I identify more with Ted with the garbage water, as well as. But I am not a good hula hooper, so that's just Brendan Hunt being amazing at hula hooping in real life too. So. And he probably got some of those moves in college when he was working at Man City. So
there you go.
Yeah.
What is everyone else's thoughts on the garbage water?
I love tea. Sorry.
No,
I love it.
I'm a tea fan as well.
I'm in the middle. I need my tea to be like syrup water, essentially, like sweet tea from the South.
Yeah.
So I'll drink it all day long if it's like that. But just black tea, oh man, garbage water. Cannot stand it. Anywho. So in season 1, we're seeing, I didn't expect it. I'll say this, the panic attack angle start where he's doing the hand thing. Like I did not go into this thinking we'd have a serious range for this character, knowing Jason Sudeikis and where the Ted Lasso character was birthed.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see that they kind of added some drama to it. What's his name? Bill Lawrence. I guess that's his forte. Is this style?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's the creator or just a producer. Someone can.
Well, he's kind of credited as like a creator, but like I know like the idea originated with Sudeikis and Joe Kelly and Brendan Hunt, like when they had all been working together years before, like in Amsterdam. So that's kind of like why Amsterdam is also important to the show. But and then they eventually did like those like NBC Sports like shorts that they did. Because like NBC had gotten like the rights to show the Premier League, and they wanted like some kind of sketch stuff with that. And it's interesting if you go back and watch those and watch the pilot too, because they do reuse some stuff
they do
from those in the pilot. So what I thought would have been interesting is like if they didn't do that and like somehow those are still like canon to like
alternate
the Ted
universe
Lasso
characters.
story. Yeah, or if it's just like maybe that was why Rebecca had hired him, because he had previously come over one time before and worked for Tottenham at that point. I thought that would have been a cool thing, but also because they also played Tottenham recently in one of the more recent episodes. I thought it'd been funny if they'd had like a slight like nod to like him previously being the coach to them, but it's funny. Go ahead.
Oh no, I don't want to interrupt you. I had a little bit of a longer point, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's funny to see Brendan Hunt in those shorts too, as that version of Coach Beard too, just to see how much both Ted and Coach Beard have evolved from those like original shorts to like the long form TV show. But
it was interesting. We had a good discussion when we covered The Princess Bride on our podcast about sort of how much they let the characters sort of develop and tell them who they are. And The Princess Bride does some things when you go from the novel to the film where the dialogue is very, very intact. But sometimes some of the best lines of dialogue were brought in a totally different context. The life is pain. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. Like in the book, that's Fezzik's parents telling him that, right? It's not Wesley. So I love how they've managed to bring over a lot of the best lines, even though the characters have evolved considerably. We even compared some different versions of like the pilot script from like an early version to the shooting script to what they actually have in the transcript, and the characters, you can even see them develop in that. And I love that they gave those characters room to grow, because the show has so much more depth than if they'd have just stuck with the kind of, I mean, the commercials were fun for the Premier League, but they're a little one note, right? So
yeah,
the show wouldn't be nearly what it is if they hadn't let the characters evolve as much as they did.
Yeah, and I mean, and all the depth that they've added, like you said, that it was started. Right. I think everyone was just like, oh, it's going to be this silly little show. And next thing you know, it is. Yeah. Heavy drama, heavy characters that you really care about. Like it just kind of, right. Like you're like, oh, this is cute. This is cute. And you're like, oh my God, I love this show. I love these people. I love everything about this. Right. It's like this instant change.
Well, and something I really love about it, the first 2 seasons I watched with my dad while he was going through sort of the end of his cancer diagnosis, and he and I didn't agree on pretty much anything in terms of watching shows, but he really liked Ted Lasso, and he expressed to me, he's like, I like Ted, you just don't have to think that hard about it. And it was so interesting, because what I like about the show is that there's so
make you think
depth to it, right? But you can appreciate it on the slapstick level, like when you spit takes Rebecca, at the end of the season with the but like I spent a chunk of this morning trying to track down a book that you see out of focus for like maybe less than a second in the most recent episode. And it is actually, as it happens, relevant to what was happening in the scene. And you love that. It's amazing. So
every detail counts. That's the amazing thing. You think there's these throwaway things, and then you're just like, wait, no, that actually meant something. It actually was telling us something.
Right.
And that's the amazing part. And that's why it's like, it's interesting watching people, like as each episode comes out, they're like trying to like decipher all of these things. But it's like, I mean, I honestly think that they know what they're doing. They're misleading you. You just need to wait for it to finish,
Mhm.
and then look at it all. Like you have to like wait till the end, and then look at the whole season. Like just watch the whole thing again, and be like, oh, like
Right.
it all like becomes clear.
It's like 4-dimensional chess, basically. But yeah, like and like it's the same. Yeah, well, it's the same. It's the same show that can do, like very, very smart, like written storylines like that. But then also can have Ted sing a song like in like the most recent season 3 episode where he was like, I'm heart bent in my apartment because all that you left was your fart scent, and now that you're gone, I wrote this song because all you left was the smell of your farts. So I just like that the show can be like those two things on the same time. And then one of the things that also like first like won me over with the show too is my favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. So
within the first like 3 episodes,
yeah. So when Coach Beard does like a spot on Ronald Reagan, the actor, I was like, yes, 2 of my favorite things together. Hey, Collins. Yeah, Collins is another huge Ted Lasso fan too. He's been on Holdo Maneuver with us, and he was in England recently too for Star Wars Celebration. And while he was there, he actually went over to Richmond. I was super jealous because I saw him post pictures from the Crown and Anchor there, which is the. Or wait, I was gonna say it the other way around. It's Crown and Anchor in the show. It's the Princess Head in real life. But he took some pictures there, and I thought it was pretty cool that he got to go there.
Skip one comment and hit this one because it's kind of what we're talking about right now. It's on topic. How Josh Borsity feels all the characters are able to share the spotlight. We have the main characters. Each person feels equally impactful. That's true. Very true. Except for there's a lot of bit players on the team that like have one line here or there in an episode, and it's just like they throw them away after like that line. You don't see them again forever. The one that comes to mind is the French player. Like I don't even know his name, but they had him Bouchard. They have him like pop in every now and again just for like a jab at the French, it seems.
But I love how they do things like Bumbercatch. Like Bumbercatch has slowly over time has like come to this point of like he's apparently the hottest, has the best body of the whole team, right? Like he's completely skilled in all these things. Like over time they give you one piece of him, but now he's like, he's an icon. He's everything.
Right.
Doesn't choose Cheerios.
And then we got to backtrack a little. We got a fight brewing.
Yep. I love tea. It's the best.
Gustavo's coming for you. But no, the characters, like they do a great job. Even if they have a small role, they kind of give them more in this small little bit than most other TV shows would. There isn't just like a character who's a one note. Like they walk in the room, they do the same thing every time you see them. At least I don't feel that.
Yeah. And like we're all saying, like it's interesting too because if you go back, which I'm gonna do once the show's over, or once season 3's over. I don't know if the show's gonna be over after. Nobody knows that, I guess.
We'll find out.
Once this season is done, though, I'm gonna go back and like watch 1 through 3 again, and just watching like some clips from the first season already too, and then like seeing where some of these characters are like now. Almost near the end of the 3rd season, you can, even though some of them aren't like the like main characters, like they're not Ted, they're not Rebecca, etc. They still have had this character development from where they were in that first episode that we saw them in the first season to where they are now. Like with Isaac, like where like how everybody was even like treating Nate like within those first few episodes, and like how they've all. Like even Sam, like in those first few episodes, was like part of that with Nate too. So it's just interesting, and I think really cool to see that progression from characters that might not necessarily be like like above the line storyline wise, but I just like that every character on the show, whether they have focused like a whole episode on them or they have little spots here and there, have had a progression of their character throughout like the 3 seasons.
I guess it's really, I don't know, for the first season where Danny appears, that the Two Aces episode, the first time you meet Danny Rojas, and he's doing amazing, and then he trips on air and hurts himself, and they burn everything in the barrel.
Oh yeah,
they kind of like gave the backstory to every single character. Like they didn't have to show people putting stuff in and saying things. Obviously, they did that with a bunch of them, but they just showed them doing that. But the ones that have even the tiniest bit of role, they had them say something when they were putting it in, which was nice. I enjoyed that little tidbit.
That episode had one of my favorite lines too. With do you believe in ghosts, Ted? I do, but more importantly, I believe that they need to believe in themselves.
So good.
I like stuff like that. Like just all these like very smartly written jokes like that on this show.
And it takes rewatches to get them all. Like I started watching it. I saw season 1 before season 2 came out. And so then you're just like rewatching season 1 over and over, and you think you're going to get sick of it, but you're like, you notice new things every time.
Yeah.
That's why I really believe like we have to wait till the end, and then we got to watch the whole thing again, because it's like things are going to pop out that you never imagined.
Right. And how many things where you can see the thread where they were building the whole time. Yeah, no, there's so many callbacks and so many sort of things that they mirror through the show. It's a lot of fun to see those things develop.
Well, there's even that towards the end of season 1 when he has to bench Roy. He tells that joke, "What do British owls say?" or something, and you don't get the punchline for at least one episode. I don't know if it was multiple ones.
I think it's a few episodes. Yeah, it takes a couple.
It's just they, and that's my favorite thing about the writing and writing in general is when they do that. They plant something here and it pays off, not like immediately, but they come back to it eventually. Which I feel right now in season 3 they're planting a lot, and I don't know if they're going to pay it off because we don't know what's going to happen.
Fair enough. I mean, I feel like, we're getting into these last few episodes, and I think there's a lot that's been planted and a lot of buildup, but I think we're getting into the start of the payoff episodes. I mean, those of us who were cheering for that Colin storyline, that was a hell of a payoff, this most recent episode. So I don't know necessarily what those payoffs are going to be. I'm a little more agnostic about it than I think maybe some people have a definite, it has to be this. And, I don't begrudge them that, but whatever we get, I don't think there's going to be any payoffs that haven't been set up as a long game.
I agree.
And could the payoff be if there is something beyond, right? Maybe they're planning that next thing, and there's going to be some payoff that we're not going to see at the end of the show, but who knows?
Yeah. What's number 4?
Yeah. What's number 4?
Right.
And then what Josh said here in the comments too, is just like basically listen to what Ted or Walt Whitman didn't actually say, but what Ted said Walt Whitman said was to be curious, not judgmental, which is just like one of the many like Tedisms like that they do like on the show too, like between stuff like that. It's just like kind of good like mindsets to have like in life in general too, like stuff like that, or stuff more recently like with Sam's dad in season 3 with Ola with like don't fight back, fight forward. And just stuff like that. At least I have found personally between that and then with how much they've touched on mental health, I appreciate how much the show kind of highlights that kind of stuff and normalizes things that should be normal too, that like a lot of other shows don't like touch on. And then that's also like another, like, I think a good selling point that I like when I try to suggest to people to check out the show, that like, if you're not necessarily into soccer / football, that
this is no, you can watch the show easily.
That the show,
because you just
that's more the setting than the story.
That's the word. You just can just be like Ted and be like, the sport's so confused.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I have no idea. No, that's
still
fine.
don't.
He's just a little off. He's not aggressively offsides or whatever the line was.
I think passively offsides.
Yeah, something like that. While we're still on season 1, let's go around the room. Lion or panda bear?
Oh, lion.
Panda.
Lion.
Oh man.
Marina.
Hey, to make the book club, we have to have differing opinions anyway, right? Or we would be boring. We'd all come up with the same takes.
What do you think Bex and I think Michaela is going to be a lion. Do you think Bex would be?
No, I'd put that the other way around. I'd put Bex as lion and Michaela as panda. I think Michaela and I can just chill and eat shoots and leaves.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, okay.
Mark, Coach Beard. No, I'm the host. You got to go before me.
I'm gonna say panda because Kung Fu Panda. Skadoosh.
Trying to remember the line. Why would I'm me? Why would I want to be anybody else?
Oh yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
It's just because the mental health thing you're talking about, and then Ted's line after that. I don't think you realize how healthy mentally that is.
Yeah, I use that GIF so much that I don't think you realize how psychologically healthy that
is. That's the line. I'd pick Panda for myself though.
I did this thread from the Signs episode this season when Ted gives the speech at the end of that. With like how much that speech itself specifically like kind of like touched me just because of different stuff that has happened personally to me this year. That one like hit me like really hard. Mm-hmm. So I had written like this whole kind of like tweet thread with it, and then the thing that kind of made it for me too is that Jason Sudeikis ended up liking that tweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the last one had that GIF in it of the I don't think you realize how psychologically healthy that was, but I basically just like shared like how, because my mom has been watching the show this year too, because her and my dad had been watching it. I suggested to them last year to start watching it, and they had made it through about halfway through season 2 up until like the beginning of March or so. So she made sure that she's gone through now and like rewatched all of it again, and now like she's started to send me like links of like stuff about like she's like really locked into like she wants Roy and Keeley to be back together again.
I have my thoughts on Keeley. Well, we'll save that for a later time.
Oh yeah, I read those in the show notes. But yeah, like she's like her and I have been kind of trying to develop this tattoo idea, like where like the belief sign has become kind of like this whole big thing that's kind of representative of the show. We had thought of an idea to kind of get this tattoo to like honor my dad, but to also because any of the tattoos I have, at least myself personally, mean many various things to me. So even if it's the Spider-Man like head on my forearm or the Rebel Alliance logo on my forearm, those don't just mean that to me. They mean like a whole bunch of different things. So like what we had been discussing is like both of us getting the like belief sign, maybe possibly like tattooed like on our shoulders, but instead of like the like Ted's handwriting from the show, then going through and like finding my dad's handwriting on different stuff, and I've been trying to like Photoshop it together so that I can make it look like my dad wrote the believe on there, so that can be like a way to both show how like important obviously my dad was to me and my mom, but to also show like how much he and my mom and I were all connected with that show and how much it meant to us too.
Oh, totally.
So and so that's why even like some of the stuff in like later in season 3 has been hitting me like harder too, like with Ola and Sam in that episode. I don't think I can rewatch that episode again.
A lot of dad storylines throughout this series.
Especially like with like Ted looking through the window in that one too, and like seeing like Ola and like Sam like hugging each other. I was thinking, I was like, man, yep. Because like father and son stuff already like hit me differently like after like my son was born. Like, I mean, that was 17 years ago now, but like that stuff still. So like now it hits me like in a different like level too. So that's again like just why I like the show, just with the way that it like tackles different stuff like that, and just how it and like this is another thing too, like with pointing the wrong with like even like I like do like like NFL like audio work with my friend Chris, and like we even with how much the like he won't watch Ted Lasso, I don't know why, but he still was like a good enough friend where he like let me like kind of develop like the enhanced audio Diamond Dogs logo for us to kind of like work under. So we worked in my like mini Schnauzer, this being instead of the Greyhound, like holding like there too. So I just like how I don't know what I'm trying to say other than just that like since the show lost, I guess I haven't had a show that's connected with me and that I've connected with as much as this show, and I think has been just as smartly written as that show too. So, but I'm gonna stop talking because Coach Beard doesn't talk this much, and this isn't.
He does when he's out on his own.
This isn't Darth Ibbert after hours. So,
however,
somebody else talk.
Before we get to Josh's comment, we're going to talk about one episode in particular from season 1 before we go to season 2. Make Rebecca Great Again. That's the one where they go to Liverpool, and I think that's the first, and Sassy, the first time we meet Sassy and all that stuff. That's the episode where, and my question is, should Ted have hooked up with Sassy in that episode?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of where he was at in his journey.
I just felt it was quick for like what he was going through with the divorce, personally, because we didn't know about Dr. Jake yet. We did not know about him and his wife. Like, so I was like, it felt out of character for me, for him. That's just my personal opinion.
People react to pain in ways that that was his reaction at the time. I mean, yeah, like I'm not saying like he was.
I'm not saying right or wrong. Yeah,
like, it's like that was his reaction. I mean, I wouldn't change anything.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Drea. I don't think he would have sought her out, but when she showed up, I mean, you know, he had this thing, he would not quit. He refused to quit, but that was the point at which he'd signed the papers. The divorce is final, you know, well, not final, but the divorce is signed. It's definitely going to happen. And, you know, at that point, the thing he committed to is no longer there. So yeah, I don't think he would have chased her down, but when she showed up, he wasn't.
Pain for everyone is unique and everyone reacts in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was also the same episode where he kind of got, where I think it kind of started laying the groundwork for like Nate kind of starting to get disillusioned or getting upset with Ted too, because that
because he's doing that thing where he's sliding the paper under the door.
Because he couldn't commit to it, and then like so Ted got, just because of like the place he was in mentally there,
that reaction felt
got,
like, okay, yes, I agree with, like, me personally would, like, I would do that in that situation. The other one I probably wouldn't have done. That's just coming from my standpoint. Not right or wrong, just a topic of discussion I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting on Nate's journey in that too, and I've discussed this at length in some of our episodes, but, you know, that locker room scene in Liverpool where Nate just tees off on everyone, right? You know, it's interesting to watch that journey for Nate, because outside of Ted, who is kind to him when he's just making good decisions and being kind, right? Nate can come up with these great ideas and they're actually good for the team, but even when he's writing plays and things like that, or setting up plays, the side pricks, as it were, are still being horrible to him, right? So the first time all of those guys are nice to him and accept him is when he's just an absolute shit to everyone, right? Like when he's horrible to everyone, that's when he gets acceptance. It's not because he's brilliant necessarily. It's because he, you know, he can come up with all these, and like he wasn't wrong in his critiques, but I think it was more the way he said them.
The delivery,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also interesting, like obviously post like the end of season 2, like going back and like watching that scene too, because like at that point when you're watching it, you're like, yeah, all these guys deserve you saying that to him, because you guys are being like jerks and whatnot to him earlier in this season, back in season 1. So we're kind of like rooting for him to do that, but then you can kind of see that was coming from like a different place that wasn't as possibly as healthy.
Right.
So that's why like you've already said, that like the show merits definitely many rewatches too, because it's layered with that storytelling, And also just because the show recommended Iron Giant too, so like people need to watch the Iron Giant if you haven't watched it.
In about 75 minutes, you're going to see a bunch of grown men cry.
Yeah, and what's funny is that like it's off camera, but like in this corner of the room that I'm in, there's a Karen Hallian like Ted Lasso art with the belief thing, but then kind of kitty corner just to the top right of that is a Iron Giant poster, and that was unintentional because I had hung that before I had gotten to that episode of Ted Lasso. Nice. So after that, I was like, oh, nice. There you go. So,
and then two more things. Like we get the first full-blown panic attack in this episode.
Yeah.
But before that, we hear Rebecca sing, and it brought out one character trait that, like a little thing, I don't know, everyone probably saw it, that I didn't notice until my second rewatch of this, was with Roy lip syncing to Let It Go. Like the stuff they do with Roy is subtle at time, and it's great. And that was the first time I noticed it, and I was like, that is just amazing. Like that, I don't know if that was written that way or if he like acting choice. I don't know.
It's Phoebe. It's the Phoebe influence in his life.
Yeah. I can see don't feel. Don't let them.
And I love because it's not just Roy as you go through and you watch these episodes. You know, you see even some of the minor characters who never get a storyline. Some of the reactions they have, or just the way they're able to build character without being the one talking. I mean, when Zava was here, the Danny Rojas in the background was just amazing. Just pure comedy this season with him in the background, sort of trying to mimic his actions and you see that with a lot of characters. I love how much they let go on screen. That
Well, Isaac in that scene, his reaction is also like he's just like looking at her with this like awe and like he's just so amazed. Like every character has their little bit there. That's just amazing.
Now, is that actually Hannah singing? Do we know? Yeah. Okay, I didn't know if she could sing or not, if it was like they're trying to just play it up because Sassy mentioned she can sing.
She's amazing. Yeah,
go down a rabbit hole, my friend.
I definitely will. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. She just did Eurovision this past few days too.
Yeah.
So if you look up Hannah Waddingham Eurovision 2023. I think she's doing a Christmas like special thing on Apple TV Plus this year too, where she did a Christmas special last year that was her singing. She was in some Christmas special. Yeah, just look up her singing.
Okay,
she's
I will.
All over the place. She was in musicals and
But and I like speaking about that too is that I liked like the Julie Andrews thing earlier this season in season 3 too, and that was one of the things that made me laugh the most too with Roy's like, fuck yeah, Princess Diaries. And I was like, of course he's a Princess Diaries fan. I think he's just a Disney fan because if you think about that too, with like he loves the Muppets. He's like, don't you dare say a bad word about. Although I think this is some of Brett Goldstein leaking into Roy too with like the Disney stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well, and the Muppets especially the scene where he's in the garbage can repurposed as an ice bath. I mean, that was
he was Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah.
Which, side note, when he's been on Sesame Street, he's just playing Roy on Sesame Street.
Is that his real voice? That deep gravelly voice? Or
no,
is it? I didn't think so.
So yeah, look up Movies to Be Buried With. That's a podcast that he does, and you can just hear normal Brett Goldstein voice.
Well, you can he kind of loses it here and there. Because it probably hurts to do for a long period of time. Yeah. But you can like every now and again in a scene, like he'll kind of start going up. And it's like I know he's doing the gravelly voice. I just never looked into it deep enough to know.
Yeah.
But,
I think I've seen him talk in interviews about how the Roy Kent voice, he's really just sort of tried to make it sound like he's swallowing his anger.
Right.
And with that context, it really does sound like that. Like he's just sort of pushed everything down and it's straining not to come out.
All right, so there you got to me. Season 2 starts on a real down note with Danny accidentally killing Earl, but it gives us one of the first times Ted. I don't know if it's the first time, but one of the bigger times at a press conference, he has to show more compassion than a normal coach probably would. and show why he probably is going to win this team over, and like the character traits that he has and all that fun stuff. Which I don't know if press conferences are like that in real over there, but most press conference in sports you don't get that deep. So
no,
in real life, so it's kind of.
There's been some lately. I mean, some coaches like Steve Kerr have taken the opportunity to speak out about things that might not be directly to their team, but they have taken that opportunity to go a little bit deeper and actually sort of try to get a message out.
But most of the time you get coach speak, unfortunately.
Agreed. Yes.
So it's to have Ted do it is kind of a good character trait to have to kind of build him up a little more than just being the gibberish talking rube as the locals see him.
And I love the connection in this last episode with Roy having that moment of like telling a personal story, a heartfelt personal story in the press conference was wonderful.
Well, yeah, wasn't it towards the end of season 1 where Roy and Ted are talking, or Roy comes in the coach's office and is like, "You make it hard for people to love you," or something like, "This is like hard to love you." Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I loved that stuff this season too, where like he kept like making the jokes that like Ted would have.
The ZZ Top joke, yeah. Sharp dressed men.
Make it stop. And he's like, ass squatch. It's like, please kill me. Which I like kind of calls back to like, what is it like? It's in season 1. I don't remember what episode, but where like Ted and Beard are having like a discussion about like Roy's got to be the first domino to fall. Is like wait until we win him over. And Beard's like he'll be furious, which he was.
Yep. Another plant and payoff moment.
Yeah, like that. What he said in the most recent episode too, with the locker room fall. I think you can even like repurpose for like people that like work any kind of customer service job too. So that's why kind of when I shared the quote from it, where it was like, look, I get that some people think that if they buy, that's why I wrote it like this. If they buy a insert product here, they've got the right to yell whatever abusive shit they want at insert profession here. They're not just profession. They're also people. None of us know what is going on in each other's lives. Which I think a lot of people should remember that too when they call customer service to like anything or in person anywhere too, because just because like you're upset about something doesn't mean you have the like right to like take out that on that person, because that person's probably not the reason that you're upset. So
yeah, it's never the front line that made the policy that sucks. Yeah.
So that's like another thing that I liked that like Roy said on the show. Now, like you kind of brought it up too, Michael. Like with like Ted's had a few good kind of like longer like speeches throughout like the seasons too. Is there like any that you guys can remember that you liked in particular out of season 1, 2, or I guess now 3 too?
Yeah, or any speech.
Yeah, I maybe it's because it's so fresh, but I absolutely love the Ted going through and saying we don't not care. The most recent speech, what he's saying to Colin, because I think that's an important point for people, whether it's in the context of someone trying to say, well, I don't see color, or someone basically just when someone's different saying, oh, I don't care about that difference. I think appreciating and helping people sort of see that, if you can look at how that person's difference has affected their life and appreciate what they've gone through and sort of experience that with them, that's better than just ignoring that there's that difference there at all, because then you're not really seeing the person because you can't see all the experiences that they had. So I really, really loved that speech. I like how they handled it. I liked the dig at the Denver Broncos. I liked the acknowledgement that maybe it wasn't a good comparison. That was just beautifully done. The writing in that episode was so good.
Yeah.
Also this season, the one he did about, when the team had gotten so angry about learning how the believe sign was torn, and he just kind of was like, this is a symbol. And it's not, we can't put that much into it. This isn't what's important. It's what's inside of all of us. And just like, that was also, like those two speeches. I mean, I think obviously the the barbecue sauce moment. His, is like gonna always be a favorite, like that, because again, that was in the beginning, but like I really feel, those two, the one Rita brought up and then the other one in the season have just really just been like very impactful.
I agree. And there was, I mean, obviously there's the one from the hope that kills you in that episode, and as well as like the one, like the I believe and believe, so I've already said it a few times, but the writing on the show is like really good, and like Josh said another thing with like here with Rebecca's line in this most recent episode too, you'd rather eat shit soup and complain about the portions. So it's not like just Ted that gets to like the really well written lines. It's and then I've just liked like the random like kind of like stuff in here too. We kind of preliminary like kind of side touched on with like the progression of like the Roy and Jamie kind of relationship from season 1, where like they hated each other. Well, more Roy hated Jamie, and then like that whole dynamic between like how that became kind of not really a love triangle with Keeley, but kind of love quad. No, it wasn't quadrangle.
Dodecahedron. I think that's what Ted said.
Yeah. But like where they went from there to like season 2 with like Jamie dealing with like his dad just being like an ass,
a knob.
And then, and then Roy being the one to walk over and give him a hug to like comfort him because of that. And then to like season 3 now, like where like Roy is the Yoda to Jamie's Luke, and he's like training him there, and they have like this whole like kind of a bromance going on. But like I liked the whole thing with like the bike training in the Amsterdam episode too. So it's just cool to see like where they've gone from season 1 to like where they are now, and just like
just that bike training scene, the physical comedy in that, how much restraint it would take to be on that bike and just fall without really oh my god, I love that scene. That scene is brilliant.
Now I wouldn't be doing my job as host if I didn't stir the pot. We're on the topic of Jamie Tart. In this season, he's on that Real Housewife type show, whatever you want to call it. Lust, I think it was named. And I can't help but think that Jamie Tart looks like sexy Squidward. If you know what that looks like.
I saw the picture that you sent for this.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna you guys talk among yourselves. I'm gonna download it so I was gonna say you can present it in the show, so
I'm
everyone
looking
can see
forward
it.
to seeing this.
I just gotta get it in there. Talk amongst yourselves while I'm working on it.
But like I saw it and like now I can't
unsee it. That's right.
So thanks for that, Mike.
You're very welcome.
I mean, Jamie's journey, let's just talk about, right? Like, I think there's been so many journeys of so many characters, right? And I think there's been the pivotal ones, right? Like, obviously, what's Ted going to do and what's going to happen to him, and Nate, and is Nate going to be redeemed and come back or not, or what's going to happen? But like, right, then there's all these other characters that are going through journeys. Isaac's journey, Colin, Bumbercatch even being revealed as the amazing guy he is. But Jamie, I mean, the person he was in season 1 of the person he is today, him showing Keeley his, accountability. Amazing. I love it for him.
Oh, well, keep talking. This StreamYard's being difficult. Hold on.
Sexy Squidward fighting with you. Is that?
It is. He does not want to be seen. He does not want me to ruin this for you guys.
He's not here. He's not there. He's not every effing where.
It's just I tried to open. I have 2 browsers going, and I opened Sexy Squidward in Chrome, and Firefox is like, we don't know what Chrome is. So I just got to log into because
and there's also a subset. I mean, there's a whole subset of the fandom who wants to see Keely, Roy, and Jamie end up.
Oh yeah.
In a threesome together
in a throuple,
which
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure I see that in the show. I get why they want that. I'm not sure I see them headed there. But at this point, I'm actually probably more attached to the Roy-Jamie friendship than I am to the Roy-Keely relationship.
Yeah, I agree. It's beautiful what's happening between them. Beautiful.
Well, Mark, if you can find it for me, I'll let you find Sexy Squidward because it's just not working on my computer.
Okay, I'm just going to Google it myself.
Actually, that's a solid
I've had
point.
enough.
I'm sorry, technical difficulties. But while we're also talking, you mentioned Keely twice now. And my question, and it's probably I know the answer. Do we need her character at all in this show?
Yes.
Why?
Well, hold on.
Emotional
reaction? That was probably initially an emotional reaction. Her character was in the beginning. She's the one that brought Rebecca out, that brought Rebecca back. It was Keely.
Right.
I mean,
but could it have been someone else?
Who?
I don't know. I'm posing the question.
Yeah, no, I think she's important to the show. I think her relationship with Rebecca, I mean, she's so integral to so many people's storyline because she's integral to Jamie's arc, to Roy's arc, to Rebecca's arc. And I mean, we don't really have enough women of depth in the show. It's a show about soccer, right? So you can forgive that it's about an all men's team and there's not that many women there, but I think it is important to have a woman who is not in that dynamic power position like Rebecca. I think Keely's a really interesting character, and I don't think the show would be the same without her.
You're right. It wouldn't be the same without her, but for me, I don't know, maybe it's more lately. It just seems when she interacts with the main people, you're just like, why are you even there anymore? You're not with Roy. You're not with Jamie. You're in your own business. And obviously Rebecca, but I don't know. For me, it's like she kind of like has gone downhill from the get-go. That's just personal, my opinion. But
she may have, her storyline definitely has changed, and she is definitely a character with a lot of influx, I would say, right now, right? She's not grounded. She's got a lot of different things happening. But I do think that she I think she's been a force on the team, and the team reacts to her and respects her. And I don't know.
No, it's just
it's
there's a lot of characters, and and she's probably the biggest one I could pick to say, do we need her? Like Trent is the second one down. Do we need him? We did it first, but do we need him now? Like, I don't know.
I think there's a lot of Trent ride or dies that are going to take some issue with that. I love having Keely there. I love having the opportunity. She's such a contrast to Rebecca, and there's, without going too far.
All right, I figured it out. There he is.
Sexy Squidward. Wow.
That is Jamie Tart right there. Jamie Tart.
Do.
Not to interrupt, but I figured it out and I jumped on it.
No, I'm with you. Lost my train of thought a little bit, but women are so socialized to only behave in certain ways. And I think having a woman on the show who is valid and important and intelligent, but who doesn't behave in the same way that Rebecca does, right? She has her insecurities, and she's sort of learning to be strong through that, and actually seeing that reflected in her journey. I think that's important to the show. She can be who she has been. The fact that she's posed topless a bunch of times is not doesn't reflect on her character. It's okay to be that because that's how she's chosen to be. I think having a character like that is good because other than that, like Rebecca is amazing. I love Hannah Waddingham. Like Rebecca is an amazing character, but she's maybe not that representative of how a lot of women have lived their life, because she has so much more power than a lot of women do. And Keeley doesn't have that. I think it's useful to have that perspective in the show.
I think that's a great point, Marita. I feel like Keeley is so unapologetically herself.
Yes.
That right?
Was so much more succinct than what I said. Well done.
Yeah. Like, no. She's just unapologetically herself. I mean, that's what you were saying, right? Like she, Rebecca is a woman who has had to survive in a man's world and that has shaped her. And who she is, who she presents herself as. It was such a contrast to the way Rebecca normally presents herself and how she appeared in the, with the, the hot boat guy, the hot Amsterdam boat guy.
Yeah.
And, like that was such a contrast with her hair just kind of wild and a flowered, dress that was flowy, and she's normally very like streamlined, very put together. Everything's very coiffed. Everything's very, everything feels very purposeful. And to see her have that contrast, she is a woman that has struggled with that, and she's been trying to, in a lot of ways, Rebecca has tried to fit herself into a box or into a role that, I'm not saying she's not comfortable with it, but she realizes that she's what she's up against and has formed herself to fit into that role. Keeley, on the other hand, is just Keeley.
Yeah.
100%. And I love that. Yeah.
And kind of going off that too, I feel like there's been a lot of people like that have gotten kind of, or didn't like the character of Shandy this season. But I think that she was used really well, and that it's showing like how unique kind of Keeley is, like coming from, because they both came from like the same kind of like space, profession, and how like Keeley actually is very professional, very smart about like how she's going through everything, whereas you can see like the other side of that, where like how it could have gone had Keeley not been Keeley. But just like because you can kind of see like how much like more professional she went, like about like with doing like the different PR stuff, like with banter and different things like that, whereas that like Shandy was like just like tried to go at it just to get like the
money.
Yeah,
and the notoriety.
The wrecking ball. I mean, Shandy and that actress is so fun. She's just chewed those scenes up. That was so much fun.
But would Keeley have? Go ahead. Sorry. Nope. Go ahead.
No, I have seen the point made, and I think Lasso Cast has talked about this, where it sort of feels like Keeley's storyline in this season is just entirely separate from the rest of the show. I mean, there's some, and I do see that. Although we've got 3 episodes left, and with the length that they've been running, I mean, they're around an hour, so 3 hours left to show. That's like 2 entire movie length rom-coms, right? So I think we've got a lot that we can bring back in, and I do see her storyline probably, especially if Jack decides to withdraw funding or something, getting more.
I feel that's where they're going towards. But
yeah,
with Keeley and Shandy, to me the difference is Rebecca. Shandy didn't have Rebecca. Keeley did. Because before that, Keeley was still doing the modeling things. Of course, the lion and panda talk we had. And the secret for like the paparazzi trying to take pictures of her and Ted. But she kind of stops modeling after Rebecca's like, "Can you do PR for us?"
I don't know though. I mean, the modeling isn't the problem with Shandy. It's
but it's like the lifestyle. It's the
no. Fair enough. But there's still like judgment calls within there that I think. I think Keeley is just generally more considerate of other people and not.
True, very true. I just like, would Keeley have gotten to where she is without Rebecca, and would Shandy have been able to get there with Rebecca in Keeley's place? Is the question I'm posing.
Keeley was willing to listen. Shandy would not. Shandy was not listening. Shandy wasn't hearing anybody.
Right.
Yes.
No, it's interesting to me because it was an interesting topic because how I was watching it, I was like, do we like when they have scenes with Keeley and stuff? She like brings Roy, like her and Roy, like we wouldn't have Roy where he is now, I don't think, without Keeley, personally.
Yeah,
like Ted couldn't get Roy there himself. So
yeah, I liked the dynamic. It was more in season 2, but like the dynamic of like Phoebe, Keeley, and Roy. And like we only saw Phoebe like in the premiere this year, so like, which is kind of, that's like I think the only thing that's been a bummer, I guess, because that we haven't seen more of Phoebe, because I liked that whole dynamic, just even just like Phoebe and Roy, because I like seeing Roy feed off of his niece,
right,
like that.
Yeah. For a young actress, she is just incredible. Like to hold it together in that scene with where they're testing her breath.
Oh, yeah.
that is amazing. That scene is amazing.
And you made me realize something I have to throw in. Sorry.
You're good.
You talking about taking out Keely? I literally missed her in that Amsterdam episode. I said it in our chat. I was just like, I missed Keely in that entire episode.
Or she was busy seeing the Aurora Borealis.
Yes. Yeah, flying off.
No, it's just, to me, like, and part of my mind was like, I had the thought, so I threw it in the notes.
Yeah,
it was a good topic.
It's a good topic. Yeah, everyone has their own opinion. It's all good.
Yeah, man.
But I had something.
You're being curious and not judgmental.
No, I might have been being judgmental when I wrote it. I don't know. No,
it read as being curious and not judgmental.
No, I just playing. Do you think there's going to be any more to do with Roy, Keely, and the teacher?
Yeah, that really has been absent this season. I thought they were going to do more with that, but it would seem rough on the pacing to introduce that now. I think we could do without Jane. Yeah, the thing is I think when we need Jane, well, partly for comic relief, is to see exactly how self-destructive Beard is when left to his own devices. He's so together when he's there for Ted, but his personal life is a mess, and I think that adds an interesting dimension. I think Beard could do without Jane. I would agree with that.
He's really he's really pegged down, for a lack of a better term.
Well done.
Yeah, nice.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Otherwise, moving on.
What kind of magazines?
Yeah. Pegboards,
Pegboards.
Oh yeah.
Just safe shirts just on. You can search it. If it's off, beware.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess you guys want to just like list off like what, we don't have to like go into them too much, but like what our like favorite episodes have been from the 3 seasons so far.
Sure. I'm trying to get episode names.
Yeah. The Trent Prim Independent season 1. But
it's got so many books in it. How could it not?
I mean, that's like, that's the beginning of the book journey, and not the beginning, but just kind of like where books really had a main part. And then Trent, that whole thing with Trent, this last episode, I think is my favorite episode at the moment. I'm willing to 3 episodes from now be like, no, this one's my favorite. But right now, nice. that Colin journey, just I was weeping. I was visibly weeping. My cat can tell you, she's just weeping watching that. I watched it twice. Just like, I was a mess. I loved it.
No, and it's funny because, not funny, but interesting. When I was writing, like working with Mark and everything set up, I just like stumbled upon someone's review of season 3, and they were so against this last episode, and I don't know why.
Oh, I think I know why. They're probably it's probably a bad faith reason.
But it wasn't like I didn't read I just skimmed it. I didn't, because I wanted to see if they were what they were gonna bring up, and they never once mentioned what the episode covered as the issue. Is just like, but to pick that episode as the one of the worst, just like, you're just trying for clickbait, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but it was just like the first thing I saw, like the first review of the season I saw, was them complaining about that episode, and then the Amsterdam one was the second one they said was out of place.
And I think there's something too about this show. And I'm sorry, Marie, I'll let you say what your favorite ones are, but I feel like it's like, I almost even think sometimes there's moments that are my favorite more than episodes, right? Like
I can agree with that.
that happened and things that like, I think of a scene that I loved, and it's like, okay, wait, well, what else was in that episode? Is that episode my favorite, or was it just the scene? You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah. So I wrote down mine really quick. So for season 1, it was Tan Lines, The Diamond Dogs, and The Hope That Kills You. Season 2 is Rainbow, Man City, and probably 2 of the episodes that people don't probably list for their favorite episodes: Carol of the Bells and Beard After Hours, and then No Weddings and a Funeral. And then for this season so far, Signs, Sunflowers, and then Locker Room Awful.
Was Carol the Bells one where Rebecca and Ted walked around being Santa?
Yeah,
it was a bottle episode. Yeah, that was the Christmas one.
It's Kenny Madison's favorite episode of
because Santa Claus is canon in the Ted Lasso universe. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think season 1. I really love Trent Crimm Independent. I think Tan Lines is where I really, because I watched season 1 after it was all out, so I was watching like one a day, not one a week. And Tan Lines is when it really started to hit with the emotional resonance, when you could really tell there was a depth to the show. Season 2, I'd probably also go with Rainbow, but I love Beard After Hours, and I know that's a really polarizing episode because some people are just like absolutely hated it. Fortunately, on our book club podcast, we disagree about books all the time, but fortunately, we all love that episode. So, yeah, I really love that episode. And my favorite this season, there's a lot of them I've liked very much, but The Strings That Bind Us was just, I have not laughed that hard in a long time. There was just so much going on there. That's the sort of episode you could just watch over and over and pick out something new, like Will with the string going from the water bottle to their shores. All those little details that episode is
so good.
Oh, that episode had Beard as Colin and Colin as Beard, and Charlie Hitchcock did a great Brendan Hunt.
Oh yeah,
impersonation as Coach Beard, and Brendan Hunt did a good Colin thing with like the bottles in the background and everything.
Will, you mean right? Will?
Oh, Will, yeah. Because
of the heavy Colin episode,
most recent episode,
yeah. No, although, go ahead.
I was going to say, although a lot of people have been trying to pair Colin and Will together.
It's really interesting to sort of cruise around Twitter and see the relationships that people are cheering for. Some of them are so improbable and so sweet, like the Ted Trent shippers. And with the way Trent looks at Ted, you could I see it more this season than perhaps previous.
Right. Ted Dependent.
Ted Dependent.
The best shipping name ever.
That is pretty clever.
I mean, Ted's the reason why Trent gave up the paper, essentially.
Yeah.
I guess while we're on the topic, we should all go round robin and say yay or nay if you're for Ted Becca.
Nay. I mean, well, I'm not. Actually, that's not true. I'm not against Ted Becca. I just kind of don't care. I'm not invested. It's like I'm so excited on the journey. And I just want to see where they take me, and that's really all I care about. I'm not invested.
Stop being reasonable.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I've used the word before, but I'm pretty agnostic on that. I think they have signposted a relationship there. Yeah. What that relationship ends up being, who knows? I also think they've signposted things just to misdirect people. So I'm not emotionally attached to that relationship. I won't be upset if they do. I won't be upset if they don't. I kind of trust the writers. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, but I don't have a real heavy investment in any direction.
I mean, I feel the same way about Keely and Roy, honestly. Like, I love the two of them together, but there's also a part of me that wants to see Keely. Like, she's been through so much. I just want to see Keely just be okay and be herself and be, like, I almost there's almost at this point no relationship that I'm against or for, or really like, I mean, maybe Nate and I'm kind of into Nate and Jade, and I know Marita is not, but
So there have been a lot of group chats about this. I am not against them. Right now, I think Nate has work he needs to do on himself, and I just would not like to see Jade fixing Nate, because that's not what happens. Nate needs to put in the work to become a decent person. I actually like Jade as a character. I like her fine. I definitely have, in my life, in some circumstances, been the person that just stares blankly at someone who won't stop talking. I could relate to that pretty hard.
I'm all for Ted Becca as long as their journeys are complete. I don't want them to do something messy and then like split them up and like have that be the reason why Ted's gone or whatever.
Oh,
you don't want to share the exact text to that you sent to me after you had started watching Ted Lasso.
Oh, when are they going to bang already?
Yeah. I was like, well, if you're interested in that, I have a podcast for you to listen to. And then I told them about Tori's podcast with their soulmates. And I was like, well, I got you a new listener, because this is what Mike had to say. But
yeah, you should have suggested Tori change the title, because when are they going to bang already is
it's more headlining. And going to Nate and Jade, I don't understand that relationship from a story standpoint, because they're trying to build Nate to be this bad guy essentially, and then they're like all of a sudden like tampering him like down. I understand he's conflicted. I understand that aspect, but could we have gotten that without having to have this relationship? I just like, why throw Jade in there, to your point, Marita, and have her be the one who fixes him? Like,
Well, I don't actually think she's fixing him. Like maybe that's where I disagree. I don't see that that's what they're showing. I don't
think they're there at the moment. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in the most recent episode, he did make that choice himself. Like when because he could have, because
he didn't need a girlfriend to make that choice.
Side note: I am Ted Becca, by the way, but I'm also I'm not going to be like heartbroken if that doesn't happen. But I would like it to happen, but I'm not going to be like, well, I wasted all my time watching this show.
No,
you're not going to be tweeting out Jason Sudeikis, "I'm outside your house" or something like that.
You're like, what the hell? But yeah, like you guys are saying with Nate and Jade, with that, I like how it's like it's very subtle, like what they're kind of doing with Nate too, where it's like this, he's making like two steps forward with like getting better, and then like one step back because it's not a straight line. But like he'll make like those bad decisions where like Rupert's like says, I won't let Ted back into the stadium again if he comes, and he's gonna initially write like, oh, I thought it was funny, but then he deletes it and says good. But then like he could have done like the same kind of thing here, like when he went with Rupert and then the guys night, and then could have stayed for that, but he made that decision to get the heck out of there and like go home to someone that he'd rather be with and that I actually cared about. So I and like also people need to stop like tweeting Nick Muhammad as if like he's actually Nate. But he had posted something I think recently where I think just after that episode where he's like, do I think Nate is fully redeemed? No, but I think he's on the right path now after like the decision he made there. So
yeah.
So just quickly on the note of like Jade fixing him, I'm not sure that's what they're showing, but I think several times they've sort of indicated in previous episodes that Nate feels like he could be happy if he just had a girlfriend or a woman. I mean, it's talking about being with someone like Keeley would be wonderful, right? That whole line, and his missteps with Keeley, and even talking about how his dad kind of ruined his life when he what did he say? He had a girlfriend and his dad told them they could do better.
Right.
And that's also a great illustration of his dad being horribly toxic, and that's just a wonderful line. But I think Nate has to come to the realization that part of Jade not fixing Nate is Nate realizing that he has to do the work to be a better person, right? Wow, Joshua in the comments just got dark. You want to pull that one up?
Here we go.
Well, Yoda, if you go the Star Wars route, Yoda does die when he's done training Luke. So if you want to do the Star Wars
we
comparison.
get Force Ghost Roy?
He talked about Force Ghost Obi-Wan in one episode. So it's I don't think Roy's gonna die. He might leave the team, or Jamie leave the team. One of the two.
I think they're kind of like heavily hinting that if Ted was to leave as the coach, that Roy may end up becoming the head coach.
Mm-hmm. What was my prediction, Marina, that I had? Ted Becca's going to happen. They're going to move back to America to be with, his son.
Right.
But and like Ted and Rebecca. And so then, who was it? Leslie Higgins will own the team. He's going to replace Rebecca, and Beard is going to stay with Jane here, and stay with the team and be the head coach. I know. I'm not saying I want that. I was just one of my okay, here's what's going to happen.
That's interesting.
It's a wild prediction.
Well, what would kind of be a funny thing with that too is if Rebecca did move to the U.S. with Ted, they could kind of do like a kind of clever nod to like the kind of homage of the storyline that started with. And have her like buy the Cleveland Guardians.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be just
right, because maybe that's the relationship I'll say that I'll put a stake in. Ted's gonna be with his son.
I think that has to happen.
Yeah.
Either he moves to England or Ted moves back. One of the two.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you can run a whole 3-series story arc that has so heavily leaned on the effects of bad fathers and not have Ted back more significantly in Henry's life. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah.
And
very true.
Speaking of fathers, Mike, I know you had one other thing to say about
I did
Rebecca and Sam.
And
I liked the thing with Ola when he met Rebecca this season, and then Sam was like, "Did you make it awkward?" And he said, "Yeah, I made it awkward." So
I loved that.
I just didn't like the Rebecca Sam storyline. I don't know why. It just it was like when Sassy and Ted got together. Just something struck me as like that's not. I don't know. Didn't
just
jive.
The dynamic that like she's his boss.
I don't know. That has nothing to do with that. It was just why go there? Like, do we need to? What did it serve? Because you ended it so quickly. Like within an episode or two, you're like, okay, it's done. Like, why even bring it up? What did Sam gain from it? What did Rebecca gain from it? What was the point?
I think for Sam, at least, it helped him to realize that like he wanted to like with the focusing on himself, that's what like kind of pushed him into wanting to buy the restaurant to like with the restaurant there. So I at least that's what like for him, that's what kind of helped move him forward with that. And then with like Rebecca, I think it was her kind of like finally realizing she didn't need to be with someone to be happy. So that could also be like a thing where they're kind of set it up there so that like if should the whole like Ted and Rebecca thing not happen, that could be a reason too. And I'd heard them say this on Lasso cast this past week too, where like maybe the end of the show is like nobody is in a relationship at the end of the show, and they're all just
possible
healthy people,
happy single people. That's great.
Healthy single people at the end of the show. Subvert what everybody wants.
I just had a memory struck me, and you guys tell me if you all remember this. But remember when they had for the children, when they did the charity event in season 1, and Rebecca and Keely were in the bathroom talking, and Keely was saying something about footballers, how she's been with footballers for a long time. And I think she ask Rebecca, like, haven't you? And I think Rebecca says, no, I've never been with a footballer.
I remember the conversation. I just don't remember that part.
I don't remember quite exactly. I'm just wondering, could that be a callback to, it's like, okay, now she's had a footballer, right? Like, I don't know.
Right.
It's anything's possible. It was such a it happened. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, I like the whole banter, like getting those two together, and then like them not acting on it. I was like, okay, that's fine. But then they acted on it, and I was like, okay, where's it going from here? Oh, really? Nowhere. Okay.
Yeah,
it's just my.
I mean, like I remember, like in season 2. I mean, that feels like it was like a. I mean, it was over a year ago now. But like I remember that being like a big point of contention when that was happening. Like what were the kind of like the whole, I guess, like optics of that, as far as like, and that the people were bringing that up again with like Keely and Jack too, because it's kind of the same thing, but not quite exactly, but similar enough. Because that is kind of like a weird like power dynamic in a way, is like when you are dating someone that would be like your boss, I guess. That
right.
It just feels like
it's an interesting thing to explore, right? Because we do have that power differential between Rebecca and Sam. At the same time, it's interesting to explore that because people don't necessarily react the same way when the power differential is between a powerful man and a less powerful woman who is, in his employ some way. So it's interesting from that perspective. I love Joshua with the least controversial statement ever. May is my favorite character. I love her so much. I love the guy down at the pub so much.
Oh yeah.
That springboards me into the final question here.
Oh yes.
Favorite character and the moment you realized they were your favorite character.
Shit. God damn it.
We'll start with Coach Beard.
Oh, I thought you meant like the character.
No.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, Coach Beard is I so this also goes like the favorite character besides
Ted. You can pick Ted, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, so I think of the characters on the show, like my top like favorite ones are like Ted, Coach Beard, Roy, Rebecca, Jamie, and Sam. Like out of all of them, those are like my favorite of the characters. And I think it's not like even like layered, but I think Coach Beard, at least just because of now at this point with how many people have said that like that I look like Coach Beard. But so I guess I'll just lean into that.
You just lean into that? Yeah. Got a hula hoop, that means.
But yeah, just like I mean, I'm not obviously exactly like that character. It's like he would be like if Ted is Jay, Coach Beard is Silent Bob. But just it would be like if Jay only ate Sour Patch Kids and Silent Bob only did mushrooms in tea. But yes, and speaking of that, that was my favorite sequence on the show this season too, was the Donald Duck and Meth Magic Land homage with talking to the TSA in that, and they even got Corey Burton to do the voiceover for that, who is also Count Dooku in the Clone Wars. So it was cool to. I was like this. I don't know. Also because I love animation so much, because I liked just that whole influence in that episode. But that's enough of me talking. So I will let
you get to pick the next person.
All right. I pick you, Andrea.
Okay. Am I allowed to say I refuse to answer this question?
That is an acceptable answer, yes.
I can't, I don't know. I love Isaac. I love Beard. I love Will. I love May. All the pub boys. Ted. Who haven't I mentioned? Trent.
You didn't mention Rupert.
Rupert, no, but he's a great villain, right? Like,
yeah, he's a good villain.
My favorite character in Star Wars has always been Darth Vader, because he is such an iconic, badass mofo. Like, he is like, right? Like his extent of evil and his presence was such a thing for me as a child. Like, Like I remember when I was a little girl seeing it. It was Princess Leia and it was Darth Vader. Those were my two. And I mean, I thought Han Solo was cute because I have eyes. But like, there's something about evil, a well-played evil character that's just delicious. And Rupert is delicious. I'll say it.
We have it here. Rupert is delicious.
That's the soundbite everybody will get from this episode.
Yes.
All right. Next, Marita.
All right. So this is tough because, like people talk about, oh, I love all my children equally. Well, I only have one actual child, right? So I can absolutely play favorites there. But with Ted Lasso characters, it's hard.
Yeah.
Everyone is so well characterized that everyone is just glorious. I love the Greek chorus aspect of May and the guys down at the Crown and Anchor. I just love the role that they play and what they add. I would love to see a little bit more of them. I would love to see a spin-off with them. I don't know, solving mysteries or getting in fights or whatever. That would be fun.
I don't think they get in fights. Do they get in fights, those guys?
It's interesting because in the original pilot, they were written so much more as hooligans who were like maybe a little more physically intimidating than what they actually. And I love that they evolved to where they're at. But yeah, agreed. I don't know. I mean, Paul wouldn't get in fights. I don't know about Baz and Jeremy. I think it depends on May's influence, possibly Paul's. But I just relate so hard to Roy. And the moments that I really love Roy is when you see him developing and growing because someone else has pointed out to him something that he realizes he was either wrong or he has a realization, and every time it is just that fuck.
Yeah.
I love that. Those are my Roy moments. Sorry if I'm messing up your ratings.
I have no ratings. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Like, yeah, I just gave this
I usually swear more than anybody else. It's
okay, fair enough.
So I'll echo that. Roy is hands down my favorite character, and the moment I realized it was when he started yelling "whistle." That was my I always liked Roy, and I was like, Roy is hilarious. And then the second I hear him just go "whistle," and I'm just like, why is he yelling? And then because it gives me mouth hives. I was like, that done. That man is perfect.
I also love that they keep having him work in the word scram, which is very Oscar the Grouch, right? And he's used it at least twice now. Nobody says scram. I'm going to start saying scram.
There you go. I also loved the part anytime he's with Phoebe, she's like, can we go get ice cream? And he's like, fuck no. And then they see him eating ice cream.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he bites ice cream, that's like Phoebe's like, he bites ice cream. Like, that's Roy's great. Perfect character.
I used to do that too.
Same.
But yeah.
But that'll do it, folks. For those who stuck with us the whole time, we're going to wrap up here with Coach Beard, I guess I'll call him. Mark from Holdo Maneuver and Animation Fascination podcast. The folks from Coach Beard's book club who joined us tonight, Marita and Andrea. Tune in next time we do another live episode. We'd love to have you guys back in some fashion, either here, Holdo Maneuver, Animation Fascination, wherever we can have you. You guys were great. Thanks to those who stuck with us. And I'm going to end the broadcast now. We guys can hang out and talk a little more if you want. But peace, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much for having us. Bye.